right, here we go.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Authors Lounge. I'm your hostess, Paulette Henson, and today co-hosting with me is author Stephanie Bailey. Stephanie,
Hi.
welcome to the Authors Lounge. How are you?
Good. Good to see you as
Good to
always.
see you as well. Yes, I so enjoyed our time together. But today we have a special guest author on the show. Her name is Rolanda Powell, and she's going to talk to us about one of her books called Grandma's Hands. So I'd like to bring Rolanda Powell to the stage. Rolanda, welcome. How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm
Woo-hoo.
fine. It's good to be here.
Yes, it's good to have you. So,
Yes.
Rolanda, tell our audience about your book and what inspired you to write your book. Tell us your book journey and your inspiration.
Well, my book is about a young girl who has to go and her mother dies. Her parents are both dead, and she has to go live with her grandmother and the feelings that she felt. The book is inspired by my personal life. When I was younger, my mother abandoned our family, and so I was the oldest, and I was three. My brother and sister were two and one because we're like 11 months apart. And so my grandmother stepped in to help my father raise us, and my grandmother was the nurturer. My father was the provider. And one of the things that I can't speak for my siblings, but for me, it always bothered me that I didn't have a mother in the house. And at that time, I didn't know anyone who didn't have a mother in their house. One of my friends, I ran into her, one of my childhood friends, I ran into her years later. And she told me that when I used to come visit, she said, visit her house, she said, I always wondered if you were coming to see me or if you were coming to see my mother. Because you spent more time with my mother once you got there. And I think it was because in me, I wanted a mother. And I always felt alone. I always felt lonely. And I always felt badly because I didn't have a mother in the house. And so one of the things that helped me was when I got in junior high school, one of our books that we had to read was Maya Angelou's I Know Why a Caged Bird Sings.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's when I first realized, well, hey, I'm not alone. There's other people who've been through it, and Maya talked about her experiences. So I wanted to write a book for children that's younger so that children would not feel alone. So that led up to my journey of writing the book Grandma's Hands.
Wow, so touching.
Mhm.
So
I
touching.
love that.
I do too. So powerful. And
Yeah.
so, what's been your response? Have you read your book to children? Do you do that type of thing to sort of get their reaction and response from your work?
Well, I've gotten a wonderful response from children. I've read to children. I've read to grandparents. I actually worked in the field, which is another part of my story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want me to tell that part now,
Sure.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So all through life, I wanted to help. First, I wanted to become a teacher until I went to junior high school. And
Mm-hmm.
when I saw how the kids treated the teachers in junior high school, I said, no, I'm not going to do this. So then I wanted to help people. Well, I know I want to help people, and I ended up becoming a social worker. And at first, I worked in foster care. I hated it with a passion. And then I worked in foster care prevention. And when I was working in foster care prevention, I started a volunteer program to help the mothers who wanted to get their kids back or who wanted to keep their kids. And what really worked was when I would recruit seniors to work with the mothers. When it was somebody their age, they would always be calling me, oh, I had an argument with this one, we got into a fight, whatever. But when it was a senior, it really helped. And I realized that a lot of these mothers, they needed a mother themselves, and that's why their kids ended up in the situation that they were in. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, one of my friends who worked at the agency I worked at, he went to another agency and they got a grant to help grandparents raising grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And they started a program. He called me on board, and he said the only reason he asked me to come on board was because I was the only one in our field he knew who liked seniors. So
Mm-hmm.
I went on board at
Rolanda,
the, huh?
you're frozen. Like there, you
Oh,
do something like move your hands because your screen is frozen. I hear you talking, but you're there. We go. Okay, go ahead.
oh, okay. I don't know how this thing works. Okay,
It's
so
go ahead.
he recruited me to work at this program called Miracle Makers.
Uh-huh.
And I worked with grandparent. It was a grandparent raising grandchildren program. It was the first time they had the program. So I worked there. The program became successful. And the New York City Department for the Aging years later asked me to come on board and run their grandparent resource center. It was a
Mm-hmm.
funding that they got, and it became successful. It became a national model. I got so many awards. I helped so many grandparents raising grandchildren. So that became like one of the things that I love to do. And then later I went to work for the Brookdale Foundation, which is a foundation that funds relative as parents programs across the country. So what I had done locally at Miracle Makers, I did on the city level at Department for the Aging, and then I did it nationally at the Brookdale Foundation. And it was all involved grandparents raising grandchildren. So that's been one of my missions in life, to help grandparents who raise grandchildren. And one day I was sitting down and I was saying, when I was getting an award, and I was saying, how did I know about this? Like, how do I know how to help these people? And I realized it was because I had lived it. And what I thought was the worst thing in my life turned out to be the best thing in my life.
Wow.
I love that.
I do too.
Mhm.
Because,
We're
we always talk about this, Paulette, like our experiences make us
yes.
an expert in the field, right? We go through
Yes.
Mhm.
something, we share it. Women or men, whoever, like they know that they're not alone in this situation by
Yes.
sharing what we, have experienced because, I love it. It's totally touching
Yeah.
my heart, by the
It
way. Like
too.
it's just speaking.
We were just talking about this really, just about, like you said, our experiences. Sometimes, whether it's traumatic, something that's what I call a pivotal moment in your
Hmm.
life,
Mhm. Mhm.
something that will shake you. God is working,
Mhm.
and he's turning all that into good, and I keep seeing it and hearing it, everyone that I talk to, and as hard as it is and as bad as it was at that
Mhm.
moment, you don't know what that good is going to come out. You think that, oh, it's just like, this is awful, this is horrible, but then when you look back on that and you see how, God just worked it and turned it into good, it just shows is how amazing he is.
It's
Oh
funny that you
yeah.
mentioned. It's funny that you mentioned that because that's one like my life motto, and one of my favorite scriptures is all things work together for good, and I
Yes,
believe
Hmm.
that that's it,
yes,
Romans 8:28, and I believe that's what my life is about. And so my latest poetry book is called All Things, because I believe that all things work together for good, even when we think it's bad, even when it is bad, God can work it for our good.
he
Oh,
sure
absolutely, absolutely.
does. Wow, amazing. I'd love to have you as a guest on the Poets Lounge. Where it's poets. They provide their and speak their poetry, and we just share for an hour, and it's amazing. We have last week we had, I think, two guys on there, but it was probably about six poets. And so we just sort of go around the table. Everyone speaks their poetry. So
That's
if you're
nice.
interested, I will definitely send you a link. That show meets monthly on Fridays, the first Friday of every month. And so you're welcome to join and share your poetry gift as well.
Thank you.
You're
That sounds good.
welcome. You're welcome.
So you said the book is on Amazon. Is there anywhere else that they can find your book?
Um, Grandma's Hand. Yeah, they can also find it at Author House, who is the publisher,
Oh, nice.
authorhouse.com.
Hmm. Okay.
Is it
Awesome.
on, do you know if it's on Goodreads, anywhere else?
Not that I know of. I
Okay.
think I saw it on Goodreads before, but yeah.
Part of Amazon. It's like a
Mhm.
sister company of Amazon. I found that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is.
And you said Author's House
Yeah, Author House.
or Author House. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay,
.com.
perfect.
Yes.
So is there anything that anything else you'd like to share
Mm-hmm.
with the audience, Rolanda?
Well, I'd like to share my poetry journey, because even before I wrote the children's book, I always loved writing poetry. And I don't know, I think writing was a way for me to express myself, because I was like shy and and quiet when I was growing up. So I loved to write. I always kept diaries, and then my siblings would go and sneak and read my diary, so that made me mad. But I would always write. And so I always wrote poetry like for people's birthdays, for Black History Month, for different occasions. And several people kept coming to me saying, "You need to publish your book, and publish your poems, and publish a book." And so I finally did it. So my first book of poetry is called Finally. And so and I love poetry. I mean, that's one thing I do all the time. I'm always writing poems for every occasion.
Wow.
And I just recently came in third in the chapter 1 writing contest. They had a poetry writing contest.
Nice.
Third in that.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there's a theme, right, Paulette? Like, I do feel like behind every great writer is a poet. I know that was my journey too before I came, before I wrote my books, is that I look back on all my journals and I was writing poems for friends, poems for family members, poems about how I felt about certain, situations that were going on in middle school and high school. And then I put those away. And then when I was writing articles in my books, then it was like, you go back and you're like, oh, wait, I was writing for so long before I even got into books, right? But we're finding that kind of theme, from hosting our last author. She was also a poet, right? It's like,
and
it's very interesting.
Same thing. Yeah. Yeah. Her story was amazing. She actually, didn't speak for 5 years as a child. And she wrote all of this information in journals. Her grandmother gave her a journal to write. Same story, her grandma raised her. And so when she found the book, it was her journal book. It was full of poems, and she turned it into a poetry book. And so same story. We just
love
talked.
it. It's just,
it's
love
amazing.
it. Like, I love the connection, right?
Yes.
Because, not only us supporting each other as women, and women of color, it's like just also looking at like how it's all streamed together based on, our lives. And a lot of it was like, we can't say it, so we're going to write it, right? We're going to share it in a writing form. So kudos to you, and kudos to all your books, because I know you have more than, just the one children's book out there. You have several. So, keep writing, keep sharing, keep doing your thing. And then also, do you have a website, or do you have any information like Facebook link or Instagram link or anything that you also want to share with our listeners?
My Facebook link is Rose Communication, and Instagram also is the same thing, Rose Communication. And my website is that too, but it's HTTY Rose Communication. This.
Okay, hang on one second. Let's see if I can add this one. I may have to create another one. Let's see.
So it's Real Worlds Communication, right?
Okay.
Real Worlds.
No, Rose. ROROS. Rose.
Oh, Rail. Okay, I got it.
World Communication.
Sometimes what's in here doesn't necessarily come out right here, right now.
It's
like my nickname, because people used to call me Roro.
Okay.
Roro. RORO.
Oh, Roro. Okay.
And is that roroscommunication.com or? Okay. And see, Grandma's Hands. Okay. roroscommunication.com. And by Rolanda Pyle, available.
And also, Rolanda, where are you located? I don't think we asked you.
I'm in Brooklyn, New York. I'm in New York.
Okay. I thought I heard it. I thought I heard a New York accent. That's why I was asking.
Really?
I'm from upstate New York, so I don't have an accent, but originally I should say upstate New York.
That's amazing. It's amazing that most of the authors that have been on the show are all East Coast. And then I'm the only one on the West Coast, but it's just, it's amazing. The connection, how I've connected with an entire other part of the country. I love it.
Yeah.
Love that.
Love it, love it. Well, Rolanda, it's been a pleasure having you on the Authors Lounge. And again, I'm going to post this interview and on the website, blackwomenauthors.org. This you can watch it there as well. I'm going to do
Okay.
that today, and you'll be able to see it on the Black Women Authors group page, as well as you're going to appear in the next edition of BWA magazine, and that's going to be the the holiday edition. And so it's going to be amazing. I can't wait
It's
till
exciting.
I know it's gonna, because it's gonna be all new authors that
Oh,
you
that's
know
nice.
I've encompassed in this quarter. So it's gonna be amazing. I can't wait to show you your beautiful picture and your books. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, reach out. You can pick up Rolanda's books on Amazon.com, Rolanda Powell, or you can go to roroscommunication.com where you can view her work. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Stephanie, thank you so much for your assistance and your co hosting. Really appreciate you. And Rolanda, please join us on the Poets Lounge. I will send you that information so that we can hear your other passion live.
Yeah.
And so, with
Yes.
that, ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon on the Authors Lounge.
Thank you,
Thank
Paulette. Thank
you.
you,
Bye,
Rolanda.
everybody.
Thank you, listeners. Bye.
Okay, that ended.